So what's the drug and alcohol policy when it comes to joining the railroad and maintaining a positive standing when it comes to Rule G? Rule G is a zero tolerance policy for the railroad, stating that you can have zero alcohol or drugs in your system when you arrive for your shift at work. Now, that doesn't say that you can't go out and have an alcoholic beverage, but it has to be out of your system by the time you arrive at your terminal or report to work. With this, the issue that people run into is they don't understand how blood alcohol actually leaves your system and at what rate. So sometimes people get caught out with that and they get removed from service. So you want to make sure that you keep that in mind when you do it. When you're first starting out, this is extremely nerve-wracking. You want to make sure that you do everything right until you end up in the union and give yourself a little bit of protection. But when it comes down to it, it's still going to be a zero tolerance policy no matter what you do. Now, drugs, unless it's prescription, they're out. If you get tested and you get caught, you're getting removed. There's no question to that. When it comes to alcohol, though, you can sit down and have a beer with your dinner or a martini with your dinner or whatever. You just have to understand how the alcohol actually leaves your system. And also you can start using some of the alternatives that are out there as well now, which are a lot better than they used to be years ago. So let's talk about these things first. We've got, your standard beers, you've got your wine, you've got your booze, these things here, understanding how they enter and leave your system. For every ounce of alcohol that enters your system, your blood alcohol content goes up 0.02. So for every beer that you have, it goes up 0.02. Now, as far as how quickly it leaves your system at 0.015 for every hour after you've started drinking. So for example, if you sat down and you had 5 martinis in an evening and you started drinking at 8 o'clock at night, you wouldn't be fit for service until 1:45 the next day. Now keep that in mind, 1:45 the next day. If you report to work anytime before that and you have any of that alcohol in your system, you're going to get yanked. So make sure you keep that in mind. So a couple of ways you can handle this is just have a beer or two with dinner. When it comes to railroads, no matter where they are, you cannot drink on railroad property. So even if you're staying in a wave terminal in a hotel, you can go to the restaurant that you're going to have dinner at. You can have a beverage there. That's fine. But you can't do it on NS property or on CSX property or on UP property. You can't handle it that way. Rule G is going to be in place no matter what. This has to be out of your system by the time you arrive at the terminal. Now, there are some alternatives. Obviously, we've all heard of non-alcoholic beer and non-alcoholic spirits, etc. But years ago, they were pretty bland. These days, not the case. These things I love. BrewDog, this gives you a bunch of IPA options. And these two things here from Athletic Brewing, these two taste exactly the same in my opinion. Now, obviously, you don't have the buzz, but you also don't have the hangover. Hopefully that helps out.